And now let's come back home in Nigeria and look at the 2022 insurance industry report by Agusto and Co., which shows that the Nigerian insurance industry is more resilient than expected despite headwinds with an estimated gross premium income of $520.1 billion for the year ended December 2020. And for the same year, the industry paid out net claims of $196 billion, and that was 20% up year on year, representing 37.6% of GPI, and worsened, of course, by the violence that triggered the End SARS protests in October 2020. Now, let's look at this report and find out where the resilience lies and other potentials in the insurance industry in Nigeria. We have Mr. Ayokunle Olubumi, Head Financial Institutions Ratings with Agusto and Co. Hello, Ayokunle, good morning. So when you say that the insurance industry is resilient, more resilient than expected, what have you tested this against?
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. If you look at the insurance industry, let's not forget that the insurance industry is very cyclical, meaning that if the economy is performing well, the insurance industry is expected to actually even show improved performance. And when we have a problem in the economy, the expectation is that the insurance industry is going to be negatively affected. And if you cast our mind back, in the last couple of years, we've contended with various economic headwinds, from high inflation to low interest rates to the FX crisis, high unemployment, and all of this aggravated by the pandemic and also the violence that triggered the NSAS protest. But having said that, all through these years, year in, year out, we've not recorded a reduction in the industry's gross premium income. Rather, the worst case scenario was what we had in 2020, while the GPI actually remained flat. And if you look at it, during these periods, a lot of insurance companies had to readjust their product, had to readjust their pricing, some had to significantly even drop their premium, some had to even stagger payment of premium for customers. But over this, despite all of these challenges, and despite the industry being cyclical, we've seen that we've not recorded a decline in the industry gross premium income.
But wouldn't you say that's because it's not a very popular industry in Nigeria? I mean, a whole lot of Nigerians are very reluctant about embracing insurance. Even the one that people are compelled to, for instance, which is the car insurance, people do the third party. And we see that only about 3.4 million of over 13 million vehicles in Nigeria actually do have even the third party insurance. So maybe they're not moving because people are not really going in there.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. I think in Nigeria, most Nigerians don't have practical knowledge of insurance. We don't really have a practical awareness of insurance. I was discussing with somebody 2 weeks ago, and you'll be shocked that somebody that is educated, that is staying in Lagos, which is regarded as an urban center, the guy was even shocked that he could insure a used car, right? And for him to have comprehensive insurance on it. According to him, his own belief was that a comprehensive insurance is just for what? Is just for brand new cars. So a lot of Nigerians don't really have the practical knowledge of insurance. Talking about the third party insurance, I'm sure you've actually seen saying of 2 or 3 people fighting on the road because somebody scratched my car. And if you speak to them, a lot of them, both of them, are third party insurance. So most of them just get this, they don't even understand what it entails. What are the things that they can benefit from insurance? A lot of people don't even know that even as a tenant, if you don't even own a house, you can even insure your goods, right? You can insure your phone, and then if anything happens, you have screen crack or anything, you can actually even get claims on it. So a lot of Nigerians don't actually have practical knowledge of it. Another reason why a lot of Nigerians are not even embracing insurance is also the wrong or misconception that insurance is expensive. Most people don't realize that, look, insurance, you are paying a small premium to insure what? The value of the assets. And think about it, the larger the value of your asset, the higher will be your premium. If you consider the percentage of your premium relative to the value of the sum insured, because sum insured, the value of the asset you are insuring, is actually very, very small. Sometimes it could be as low as 2%, right? And also, most people don't realize that there's something unique about insurance. You buy insurance products when you don't need it, right? And when you actually need it, it will be very late for you to procure it. So think about it. By the time you are insuring your car, you are insuring your house, probably you've not had any damage. right? The car, you're still using the car, you're still living in the house. But let's, God forbid, assuming the car got stolen, it's actually too late for you to insure the product. So most people actually don't have practical knowledge about it. And I think to actually bring more Nigeria into the pool, insurance company need to do a lot of education. And in addition to that, I think insurance company also need to look for ways of compensating customers that year in, year out, they've been insuring their assets and they've not recorded claims. Because the honest truth is that if you've been insuring your house or your car over a 5, 10, or 15-year period and you've not recorded any claim, you might get discouraged in even insuring it again. But what you see, the best thing will have been to, since you've not recorded claim over some period, they can reduce the premium for you, or you can even have a cash payout back to you. Right. Although most insurance companies have this in their policy, but they hardly actually won't. They actually won't affect.
So I mean, it's good you mentioned that, because that's the next thing I was going to ask you. When you talk about people who you see on the road fighting and they both have third-party insurance, it's sometimes because of, okay, what they've learned from people's experiences or what they've heard, or some of them have even experienced it from this insurance. There's so many hidden clauses. So they say, oh, you insured for this. So when the problem comes and then you're being told you have this clause, it has to be according to this, they have to do investigation. So I think the insurance companies themselves, they have to be more transparent, make the reimbursement process less cumbersome and more transparent for people to trust the system.
Yeah, I agree with you that a lot needs to be done. But also, to be fair to the insurance company, you notice that over the last 6, 7 years, a lot of work has actually been done to sanitize the process, to even make the policy to be as explicit as possible. I agree with you. And you will even see that for some insurance companies, some of them even, they will tell you that, look, if you have claim, they are going to pay within 24 hours. Some actually try to do claims within 72 hours, right? And even some try to even make the claim process, the process of you actually even getting your funds, to actually make it even as less cumbersome as possible. But having said that, I agree, not only the insurance company, the industry needs to do a lot of work. Explain more to people, because the honest truth is that, look, once the claim passes a particular threshold, right, it's actually imperative for you to have what we call loss adjusters, for you to do a lot of investigation. But what you notice is that for most insurance companies, one is below a particular threshold. Some will say 300, some will say 10 million, some will say 5 million, some will say 300,000. One is below that threshold, they quickly process it. Because you agree with me that if you have a claim up to like 10 billion, you agree with me that it is imperative for you to actually for the claim to actually be properly investigated. But I agree with you, a lot of work needs to be done. And even in the interaction with the regulator, NIPON, right, there's also the plan to also try and even simplify the process more.
And, you know, in the Western world, insurance actually serves a whole lot of purpose, more than just the third-party car insurance. You know, so is there a way to, I know you talked about the regulator and, of course, the company, but are there no ways to bring this into the minds of Nigeria, into the business space?
Yes, I think a lot of education needs to be done. And also, to be fair to the insurance companies, over time, they've tried to even sensitize, because something that we didn't talk about is also that people do believe that insurance don't pay, that once you actually even insure your cars, you will actually get claims. But the honest truth is that actually they do pay. And if we've been looking at it since the violence that trade the NSAS process, as at now, over 11 billion has actually been paid out as claims. Right? So a lot of education needs to be done. Now, I think also in the type of adverts that insurance companies are actually putting out, it's not only to say, okay, come and buy insurance. It should be something to actually even educate the people. And also insurance agents, they need to actually do more to even explain to people, right? This is the policy, these are your rights, these are your obligations, right? Regarding this policy, if there's an issue, this is the number you should call, and these are the terms, these are the conditions under which, if X, Y, and Z happens, we will not actually even pay the claims. Well, I agree with you. A lot of education needs to actually be done, because most of us just have theoretical knowledge of insurance. Right? Most people just take it like something that you just have to do. And even talking about comprehensive insurance, a lot of us don't even know that there are about seven compulsory insurance. But the one that everybody actually even try and even get is actually what? The third party insurance.
Third party. And then the pandemic also brought a lot of redefinition to what should be included in insurance policies or not. Because, I mean, then a lot of businesses were facing, of course, you know, the consequences of the pandemic, the shutdown. People couldn't go to work, production couldn't take place. And some people had policies which they couldn't access because, of course, the clauses and the condition, you know, were not captured in that policy. Have they been able to change some of the clauses, you know, some of this policy to accommodate a pandemic or something that looks like a pandemic?
You know, in insurance, is what you buy that you actually even get, right? So if you buy what we call a plain vanilla policy, a claim policy where you don't have riders, you don't have adults to it, your premium will seem a bit low. But if you have some exigence, something that is not covered by that policy, unfortunately, it won't be. Also remember that pre the pandemic seems like something that is almost impossible, to have. The thing is that if you want the pandemic insurance, even before the COVID pandemic, insurance company will actually even drop the policy for you. But most people don't take it up because something like a pandemic seems something that is actually a bit far-fetched, right? But what we had with the insurance, with the pandemic, realized that most people are now taking it serious. And we've seen one or two businesses that actually took it on. They enjoyed it. Look at what happened to Wimbledon, right? Over 17 years, right? Because they started taking up pandemic insurance, right? Since after they had the SARS outbreak. Over 17 years, they paid over 25 billion pounds as what? As insurance premium. But when the pandemic struck and they couldn't hold the Wimbledon in 2020, what happened? They got claims payment of almost 115 million pounds, right? So I think most businesses are now trying to even inculcate that into their business planning. Because if you don't actually even take a rider that has to do with pandemic, unfortunately will not be covered. And also something similar to that is not only the pandemic, the rise in social unrest that we are seeing in Nigeria has also made businesses to actually even be looking at their risk planning again. Because for example, if you don't have the clause that we call SRCC, strike, riots, and civil commotion, things like riots, strike, you will not actually be covered. But now with the violence that trained the NSAS, this xenophobic violence that we had, and even so on two security challenges that we are even having now, most businesses are now thinking that, look, it's actually the right time for them to actually even be taking on this SRCC plus. The problem is that it's there if you want to take it, but most businesses didn't think that, look, it is something that they need to actually even take on. And even from the insurance company perspective, even the pandemic also helped in even properly analyzing risk. For example, when you take a car insurance, there's something that is called the road risk and then the ground risk. Ground risk is the risk that when you park your car, something is going to happen to it. And then the road risk is when you are driving. And what happened during the pandemic that most of us park our cars at home. So the road risk was not actually involved. So people now start thinking that, okay, should I be thinking that what should I actually take? Why only want the ground risk and also do I want to cover the road risk? Similarly, some similar things happen in the aviation space. Because recall also that during that particular period, the planes were grounded, right? So the risk of flying, right? The risk was not even covered. So not only from the business perspective, even from the insurance perspective, right? From the insurance company's perspective, analysis of risk has actually even changed. So also the same thing as well, the pricing of such risk.
Very interesting. So at this time in Nigeria, let's look at the SMEs. How important is insurance to them? When we look at the situation in Nigeria, of course, we have the security situation. Then we have a pre-election, because according to Alliance Barometer, political violence is the second highest threats to businesses this year in Nigeria because of the election next year. So when you look at this scenario, how important is insurance to MSMEs and what direction should they be looking at?
Thank you very much for a very lovely question. Now, I think insurance is even more important to the MSMEs than even the large corporates. Because you realize that, remember in Nigeria, we don't really have social security blanket that can even pushing you. Remember that if anything happens to those MSMEs, for them to actually come back is more difficult compared to a large corporate with actually huge shareholders backing that can actually even rebound. right? So it's very important for the MSMEs. And I think another thing, and the problem with some MSMEs is that they can't afford the insurance premium. And I think that is why micro insurance that NICOM is trying to even make to come on stream is going to help a lot. Because the beauty of micro insurance is that you can insure relatively low valued assets, right? The one that the big insurance company would not be interested. You can actually insure it with them. And the beauty also is that micro insurance allow you to actually even pay your premium, right, in line with your cash flows. So so you can have a situation in which you'll be paying your premium, that can be spread for you, that you'll be paying it daily or weekly or monthly. It will bring it down up to their level. So I think insurance is more important for the MSMEs, and I think micro insurance, which is the one that is more suited to their businesses, right, will actually help MSMEs.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. Not a very popular sector, but important, as we have seen, and we do hope that more businesses, especially the MSMEs, as you have said, would embrace that. Mr. Ayokunle Olubumi is Head Financial Institutions Ratings with Agusto and Co. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll head to the commodities market space. This is Business Morning on Channels Television.